Hi, welcome back. Thank you for watching my last video. And in this video, we'll continue to talk about variables. In the last video, we talked about variables. We talked about how variables are containers in quote, can be seen as containers or spaces in which data can be stored. So that to manipulate your data, all you need to do is to manipulate your variable. How you name your variable is very important. There are rules to consider when naming your variables, and we talked about that in the last video. If you want to catch up with that, you could just watch the last video to see what we talked about. Today, we'll continue to talk about these variables and different factors that affect their naming. First, let's talk about how that variables are case sensitive. Say, for example, I have two variables here. This is letter A. This is also letter A. We would expect that letter A and letter A are the same thing. But because of the difference in the casing, here we have a lowercase, and then we have an we have an uppercase letter A. We don't expect lowercase letter A to be the same as uppercase letter A. So here we have the variable on the left-hand side, and we also have the data that is assigned to the variable on the right-hand side. So for our lowercase A variable, we have 20 assigned to it. And for the uppercase A variable, we have 50 assigned to it. Let's see what happens when we send a command. Let's send a command to print lowercase letter A. You see we have 20. But when we send a command to print uppercase letter A, we have 50. That shows that lowercase letter A will not be the same as uppercase letter A. They are two different variables. Okay. So one more thing to take note of: variables are case sensitive. Variables are case sensitive. Uppercase letters are different from lowercase letters. So when naming your variable, you need to pay attention to what letters you're using, and also if you're using the uppercase or the lowercase. All right. Let's talk about multiple assigning. It's possible to have different variables with corresponding data assigned to them. Here we have about 4 variables. We have variable A, we have variable B, variable C, and variable D. The data 20 is assigned to variable A, the data 50 is assigned to variable B, the data 70 is assigned to variable C, and the data 90 is assigned to variable D. It's possible to send in a command so that we can have some outputs of some of the data. For example, here, let's try sending this command to print A and just A and D. We're going to have 20 and 90. So 20 was actually assigned to A. So when you send in a command to print A, you're going to have 20. But 90 was assigned to D. So you're sending a command to print A, D, you're supposed to have 20 and 90. Okay? It's also possible to have them listed vertically. It's just a matter of listing out everything like this. And then you run it, and then you have 20, 50, 70, 90, then 29. So that's that about that. What we learned from here is just that we could have multiple variables with differing data assigned to them, and we could send in a command to get an output of any of the data that is assigned to these variables, depending on what command is sent and in what order. Let's go ahead. Let's dive a little bit more into the multiple assigning scenario. Now, in this case, we have all the variables written out in just one line, and then we have the data assigned to these variables also written out on the right-hand side. So what difference do we have between these? This cell and this cell. In this cell, we have a total of 4 lines, and here we just have 1 line of the coding. So that means that in this cell, we're able to manage our space, and we still have just about the same number of variables as we had in the earlier cell. We still have the same amount of variables in this cell, and we are still able to selectively send the command to get the output that we need to see. For example, let me try to print A, comma D. See, we have 2090. So just you can do almost the same thing. You can do the same thing, exactly the same thing, while managing the space. Here we just use 1 line. All we need to do is to do some changes to the way in which the variables were written out. So the variables were all written in 1 line. But one thing to consider is that the ordering of the variables must tally with the ordering of the data. For example, if 70 is assigned to C and C is a third variable, 70 must be written as a third data also on the right-hand side. If 90 is assigned to D and D is a fourth variable, 90 has to be written as a fourth data on the right-hand side. So the ordering has to tally with the variable. That's one thing to consider in this. Okay, let's go ahead to another scenario. And here we have a case of assigning the same data to different variables. Let's say we have 3 different variables here. We have variable A, we have variable B, and we have variable C. But we have the same data assigned to each of these variables. So what can we make of this? So we have 20 assigned to A, we have 20 assigned to B, and we also have 20 assigned to C. What's the implication of this? First, let's try to send in a command. Let's print A, B, and C, and A, B, and C, and see what the output is going to look like. Will we just have 20, or are we going to have 20 written in 3 places? What do you think? Let's count 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. What do you think? I think 20 will be written in 3 places because A, B, and C are 3 different variables, and the command is requesting for 3 different variables. So let's see, let's run it and see. Okay, we have 20 written in 3 different places. So there are also other ways to send in the command. You could write it one after the other, like vertically, and let's see, we can have it this way also. Yeah, so it's either you have it as just 1 line, or you could have it written out differently vertically. That would depend on how the command is written. So that's just that about that. If you have, so it's possible to have different variables, but the same data assigned to each of these variables. The thing about that situation is that any of the variable that is called would yield the data. I mean, if I send in a command and I say print A, it's going to give me 20. If I say print C, it's also going to give me 20. So that's what's going to happen in such scenario. Let's see another case of assigning differing data to the same variable. So we have a variable here, variable lowercase a has 20 assigned to it, another variable lowercase a has 30 assigned to it, and we have another lowercase a has 40 assigned to it, then we have another case of 50 assigned to a. But the thing is that they are written out vertically, and that also means that the timing of the variable creation is different. So let's see what happens. What do we make of this situation? At this point, if I send in a command, I print A, I'm going to see 20. If I send in the command at this point, what do you think I'm going to see? I say 20 is assigned as A, and then after that, we say 30 is assigned as A. What do you think we're going to see? What would, if sending this command, print A, what will be the output? What will be the yield? I think it's going to be 30 because if you have the same variable and you have different data assigned to this variable, the latest assignment has higher priority. For example, here you have 20 assigned to A at this time. Then after that, we have 30 assigned to A. And this A, these variables, they appear to be the same thing. This is the same. The last assignment carries higher priority. So we expect that at this point of sending this command print A, the output should be 30 and not 20. Can you see? We had 30. So if it was at this point, just after this, the output is going to be 20. But at this point, the output is going to be 30. Okay. Let's see what happens if we put it in at this point. I want you to think of an answer. If you want to, if you send it in this command at this point, after we have 20 assigned to A, we have 30 assigned to A, and then we have 40 assigned to A. This is the last assignment. What do you think will be the result of this command that is sent in? Then at this point, we're sending print A. What will be the result? What will be the output? What's going to show here? What are we going to have here? What do you think will be? Let's count down. 1, 2, 3, and 4, 5. We have 40. So the last assignment has a higher priority. Okay. Let's see the command at the end of everything, like after assigning 20, assign 30, assign 40, assign 50. And we're sending in this command print A. What do we expect? We see 50 as the output. So what are we taking out of this? If we have different data assigned to the same variable, and we send in a command to print the variable, the output is going to be the last assignment. I mean, the last data that was assigned to that variable will be the output. Okay. Can you see? 50. This will be the last one. Okay. Okay, so we are done with looking at the scenario of having the same variable but different data assigned to them and seeing how that can impact the command we send in and what data is yielded when we send that command. Let's go on to analyze another scenario where we can have a variable, the same variable, but different data. So it's almost the same thing with this, but it's just a little mix up. It goes a little bit more complex than what we have before. So in this case, let's say we have this is a variable. On your left-hand side, we have a variable. On your right-hand side, you have your data. So this data is assigned to this variable. Or I can say that this data 20 is kept inside this container A. And we also have data 30 kept in container B. Or we can say data 30 is kept in variable B. Or we can say 30 is assigned to variable B. At this point, if you print A and you print B and you run it, you're going to have 20, 30 because 20 was assigned to A, 30 was assigned to B. And when you send this command, print A, print B, you expect to have 20 and 30, right? And let's go for that. Now, we are good with this, right? Like if you print A and print B at this point, you're going to have 20, 30. Okay, let's go ahead and assign 40 to variable A. Remember that we already have 20 assigned to variable A before. But now, this same A, because they are the same thing, has 40 assigned to it. So how would that impact what impact would that have if we send a command of print A and let's see what do you think we're going to have? Are we going to have 20 or 40? Remember that the timing of the assignment matters. Earlier we have 20 assigned to A. Later on we now have 40 assigned to A, and after assigning 40 to A, we are sending a command print A. What do you think we're going to see? Let me give you 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Well, I think it's going to be 40 because the latest assignment has higher priority. So let's run that. See, we have 40. Okay. So we assign 40 to A. So that means now A contains 40 and not 20. Now, we go ahead and assign variable A to variable B. we are assigning variable A to variable B. On the left-hand side, you have variable B. On the right-hand side, you have variable A. So what that means is that you want to replace the content of this container B with the content of container A. Let me say it in another way. That means that you want to replace the data that is stored in B, you want to replace it with the data that is stored in A. Let me say it in another way. That means that you want the content of variable B to be discarded and substituted with the content of variable A. So at this point, the content of variable A is 40. That's the latest content, is 40. And the content of variable B at this point is 30. Once again, it's when you have two variables assigned to each other, it is the variable that is on the left-hand side that will have its content substituted with those of the variable on the right-hand side. So A has 40 assigned to it. A is carrying 40. So that means you're going to replace the 30 that is in B with 40 that is in A. So now if I send this command, print B, what do you think we're going to have? Let me give you 5 seconds. Think about it. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. I think we're going to have 40. Yeah, because we have replaced the content of B with A. But if at this point, we put in a command, B will be 30. But because of this manipulation, if you put the command at this point, B will be 40 because you have put in a new data set in A and you have assigned A as B. You've assigned the content in A, you've transferred it to B. You replace the content in B with the content of A, okay? All right, thank you. Let's go ahead. Okay, we're going to let's dive into something that's it's a little bit different from what we've been considering earlier on. Earlier on, we've just talked about having a variable that has the same data or having different data with the same variable. But now we have clearly different variables and different data. This is the variable on the left-hand side again, and also this is your data on the right-hand side. We have a variable on the left-hand side, variable B, and we have the data 30 that is stored in it. These are two different variables and obviously two different data. Can we swap it? Yes, obviously at this point, since we already assigned 20 to A and 30 to A, if we print, so how do we do that? We're going to get another variable, say variable X, and we're going to equate that, or we're going to assign variable A to variable X. If you remember what we talked about earlier on, if we have two variables, X and A, assigned to each other, what does that mean? It means that the contents of the variable on the right side, this one, will replace the content of the variable on the left side. So since 20 was assigned to A, so we know that A contains 20. So, and now we are assigning A to X. That means the 20 in A will now be in X. We'll replace whatever that was in X and will be in X. So let's print X to see if that worked. Print X. See, we have 20. That worked, right? Okay. So after doing that, after transferring the content of A to X by assigning A to X, after assigning the content of A to X, we'll now assign the content of B to A. So it's just like you got another variable, you transferred what is in A to that, and then after that, you're transferring what is in B to A. You have two cups of drinks. One contains Coke, the other contains Fanta. One of the cup is white and it contains Coke. The cup that is yellow contains Fanta. You want the cup that is white to contain Fanta and the cup that is yellow to contain Coke. So you get another cup. So this is the other cup. You pour out the content of A or the content of the Coke into that cup, so that the content of the Coke is now empty. And then you pour out the content of the Fanta into the content of the Coke, so that you can pour back the content of the Coke into the Fanta. It's just some transferring stuff. So we want to swap this two, and then we get a different variable x, and we assign the content of A to x. We transfer the content of A to x by doing this. And then we went ahead to transfer the content of B to A. Because when you assign a variable to another variable, what you're doing is that you are replacing the data that is in the variable on the left side with the data that is in the variable on the right side. So before now, B is 30 and A is 20. So, but at this point, after doing this, 30 has moved into A, right? So let's see if that's true. Let's print A. Yeah, so A now will be 30, right? So what do you do now? So after doing that, we now assign X to B. It's as simple as that. We want to swap these two. We get a different variable. We transfer the content of A to this variable, and then we can transfer the content of B to this variable, to variable A. So B is empty. Then we now go back to transfer the content of X to variable B. So at this point, if we print B, we're going to get, what is X before now? X is 20, right? And now we've transferred the content of X to B. So instead of B being 30, B will now be 20. Let's see what this is going to be. So it gives us 20. So in the long run, we are able to swap the contents of A and B. So A is now 30 and B is 20. So that's how it works. Swapping. So this one is just straightforward. If 20 is assigned to A and 30 is assigned to B, and you want to swap, like you want A to be assigned to 30 and you want B to be assigned to 20, all you need to do is just write this in one line, A comma B, and that be equals to B comma A. So if you print A and print B, the swapping will have happened. So instead of A being 20 now, A is now 30. Instead of B being 30, B is now 20. So this is just another way to do it, but it's important to have an idea of the various ways to achieve the swapping of the data in variables. Go ahead, let's go further to see how we can utilize this. So we have Butler as a county and we have Warren as a county. So Mason is supposed to be a city in Warren, while Monroe is supposed to be a city in Butler. We're going to apply our ability to swap data in this case to have the right outcome. So we want a situation whereby Butler would have Monroe as his data, and we have Warren, we have Mason as his data, right? So what we do is we get another variable and we transfer the content of Butler to this variable. The variable on the left, the variable on the right. The content of the variable on the right replaces the content of the variable on the left, right? So we transfer what's in Butler into A, and that means that A now contains Mason. And then we go ahead to transfer what's in Warren into Butler. Warren contains Monroe, so we are transferring Monroe now into Butler. So don't forget, it's the variable on the left-hand side that undergoes the change. So here, for this line of code, variable A is the one is the variable that has its contents changed to Mason. And for this line of code, variable Butler is the variable that has its content changed to the content of Warren, which is Monroe. So because of this line, A is now Mason, and because of this line of code, Butler is now Monroe, right? So now let's print A and see what that's going to give us. And you see, A is Mason because this code was successful. Let's bring Butler and see. What do you think Butler is going to give us? Let me count down to 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. I think Butler is going to be Monroe now, not Mason, because of this manipulation. Because we have transferred the content of Warren, we have transferred that to Butler. So if we print Butler at this point, we're going to get Monroe, not Mason. Let's see that. Can you see? We have Monroe. Okay? All right. Now, after that, okay, let me ask you a question. In this line of code, we have a variable on this left-hand side. We also have a variable on the right-hand side. The Warren variable is on the left-hand side and A is on the right-hand side. We are assigning A to Warren. So what variable is going to undergo a change? 5 seconds. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Warren is on the left-hand side, and that's what's going to undergo a change. Before now, Warren is Warren, right? There has not been a change to Warren because it's always been on the right-hand side. It has not appeared on the left-hand side. Let me see what Warren will give us before this change. Oh, that's some error. What's the cause? Name Warren is not defined. Can you see? Because Warren here has it's a capital letter. Beyond that, Warren is supposed to be the data. Oh, sorry. It's just a capital letter. Okay, yeah. So we have Monroe, right? Before the manipulation. But after that, we have done this. After that, we have assigned the content of A to be the content of Warren, that means Warren has discarded Monroe as its content and now has Mason as its content because of this line of code. So let's do that here. Oh, let me just do this. Can you see? Warren will now be Mason. So that's the switching that has taken place. So normally Warren was Monroe, but Warren is now Mason and Butler is Monroe. Let's see. Let me remove this. You see, Monroe and Mason. Monroe is now assigned to Butler, while Mason is now assigned to Warren. So that's the change. So what happened was that we were able to swap the data. Warren, Mason, Butler, Monroe, right? What we did was get another variable, assign Butler to this variable. By doing that, we transferred the content of Butler, which was Mason. We transferred that to A, and then what did we do next? We transferred the content of Warren to Butler, which was Monroe. Monroe was transferred to Butler, right? So now after this, A now contains Mason and Butler now contains Monroe. Then we went ahead to transfer the content of A into Warren. When you have two variables assigned to each other, the variable on the left-hand side undergoes a change. The variable on the right-hand side replaces the content of the variable on the left-hand side. So that's how the swapping took place. Okay. All right. Thank you. Okay, so at this point, I'll just take a break and till our next video. I want to thank you for stopping by to see what I have to say about variables and about different manipulation that could be done on variables and how that could affect some different scenarios of having the same variables or different data. Thank you for stopping by. Thank you for watching to the end. Thank you for liking the video. Thank you for subscribing. And I just have a word of encouragement to you before you leave. I read from the Bible. I'm reading from the book of Isaiah, chapter 49, and in verse 1b. And so the later part of that verse, the Lord had called me from the womb, from the bowels of my mother, had he made mention of my name. The Lord, that is God, had called me from the womb, from the bowels of my mother, had he made mention of my name. I just want to know, I just wanted, this verse makes me to know that God has some data about me. God has some data about me. And the Bible also makes me know that the thought that God has for me and for you is of peace and not of evil, to give me an expected end. The data that God has in store, that God has stored for you, they are good data. They are data that will yield peace, that will make you have, that gives us assurance and hope and abundant life. God has something beautiful in store for you. Don't accept the noise of negativity. Don't accept what you think is reality to be the truth about your life. The truth about your life is that God loves you. What you see today might be opposite, might seem like nobody loves you, or the world is against you, or you're not good at anything, you've not succeeded, you've always been failing, or something like that. I just want to remind you and to let you know that God has a good good data for you, good data of you and for you. God has you in mind. God has something good for you. You have hope. All you need to do is to look on the brighter side and draw closer to God. Thank you for watching. Thank you for subscribing. See you in the next video. Bye.